This is my family's CD collection. Now, I know it looks like a huge mess, and well, it is. I would say that about 70% of our CD collection is on these shelves, and the rest is just scattered to the wind. And now, after a 6-year CD sorting hiatus, I am back and ready to finally get all of them sorted. Wish me luck.
Now, this would be no easy task. As you can see by these before shots of the shelves, this is not the ideal way to organize a CD collection of this magnitude. While they are technically alphabetized, they are not in perfect alphabetization because I was too lazy to do that last time. So this time, by the end of the process, everything will have a spot and will be easily found. This leads me to another problem with this collection. It is near impossible to find something that you want. Because I didn't finish putting them away last time, there's just like a whole table with CDs on it that are not alphabetized. And also because of how much of a mess the shelves are, if you can't find something you want, you just don't really have any idea where it is or if we even have it in the first place. There were also a bunch of CDs on the incinerator and in these boxes, and it was just not in a centralized area. So we started making stacks of CDs by the player because we didn't know where the CDs went after playing them, and putting them back just might cause them to get lost forever. The CD area was also not a very fun place to be in general. It was way too dark, the floor is so gross, the ceiling fell down a little so there's just ceiling dust everywhere, and the little light that you do get doesn't even have a lampshade. Reminds me of Mangled, which I do love, but that is certainly not the vibe that I want when being in this area. So with these problems identified, I got to work on the solutions. I started by cleaning off the collection. This spot in the basement had gotten very dusty, so it needed some vacuuming. I also vacuumed the CDs themselves, which felt a little strange, but it worked kinda well. And vacuuming CDs was certainly not on my 2023 bingo card, but hey, it's a unique experience that I'm glad that I was able to have. I then set up a table and proceeded to move all the CDs from this table over here to that one. I wanted to get every single CD in a centralized location so it would be easier to put away. After that, there was a huge pile. I was expecting it to be a lot, but I was definitely feeling intimidated by the project. But hey, at least this table's clear now, and this unorganized mess in the other room is gone. I then began work organizing the CDs into the alphabet. There were a lot, so I couldn't sort them into 26 individual piles. But I did get the general gist of the alphabet in there. I also separated the various artists and the soundtracks on the incinerator, and also made a tiny pile for jazz and blues. And the world CDs continued to get precarious, but that's okay. It's fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. I then got to putting everything away and alphabetizing it. Now, I'm going to improve on my past self and actually alphabetize them perfectly. No more just putting anything that started with the letter A in the A section. Now we are going to go AA, AB, AC, AD, AE, AF, and so on and so on. Because if I do this, that solves one of my major issues, the usability of the collection. If everything is only mostly organized, if you can't find something, it may be because you just couldn't find it instead of us not having it. So, if it is like this, if it isn't in its proper spot, then we just don't have it, Sure, it's tedious, but I like tedious. In a world where I feel as though I don't have control over anything, I do have control over AC/DC going before Aerosmith, which is before Apocalyptica, which is before Rick Astley. Okay, but for real, going through this collection was like unearthing buried treasure. I actually felt like Indiana Jones. I found one of my favorite Beatles cover albums, The Beatles on Panpipes, which is exactly how it sounds. It's so great and funny. I just love that this exists. It was also crazy just how many things started with the word black. You got Black Sabbath, obviously, but there's also the Black Keys and the Black Crows and the Black Angels and the Black Heart Procession, and we could literally be here all day. It was at this point that I found another box of CDs hiding under some random stuff, and my soul just left my body. So I got to work and put everything where it went. Luckily, it was mostly soundtracks and various artists, but there was still a lot of normal CDs in there, which was fine. I also moved the various artist CDs into that box and just put the soundtracks on the incinerator to avoid any avalanches. Oh, and speaking of avalanches, the world CDs just became more precarious, but again, it shouldn't be a problem. It'll be fine. I then took the time to actually sort the CDs on the tables into what letter they start with. It was annoying, but there was enough room, and it made everything so much easier in the long run. My system ended up looking like this. I ended up skipping the letters O and Q because there wasn't any. I then put everything back onto the A through C shelf, so it was all completely done. Then I proceeded to knock over the world CDs. Who could have foreseen this? Anyway, this was a great excuse to actually put them away correctly so they looked nice and fit in the box. I then tried to document my process in a way that wasn't time lapses, and I don't think the result ended up working out very well. But hey, I'm putting it in here anyway because of the sunk cost value, and I actually have nothing else to show for this side of the shelf. Also, toward the end of the shelf, I ended up just sitting on the floor under the table, so I was very glad that I swept up because, oh my god, that floor was so gross. But in the end, I got everything put away, and I also found some more cool stuff. What I am showing you now is one of my favorite things about physical media. This CD case is textured. You couldn't get this in any other medium. This album art only works in CD form. I'm also a huge Depeche Mode fan, so to find this advanced release of Exciter was just so cool. I'm literally viewing the history of how the music industry used to work. The only people who should have stuff like this are like important industry people, and here I am with it in my own hands. Speaking of Depeche Mode, check out how much we have. It looks so good sorted like this. Also, originally, I thought we just had 3 slightly different copies of American Idiot by Green Day, but it turns out that one of them is the actual album, one of them is the Broadway cast recording, and I didn't even know American Idiot was on Broadway, and the single release of American Idiot. Now, the jewel case proudly boasts that this CD is enhanced with a web link to buy Green Day ringtones, and that just piqued my curiosity so much. Does it even still work? So I popped it into the computer, and at first it looked promising, but when you click the link it just brings you to a white screen. There wasn't even a broken link for me to paste into the Wayback Machine. I don't know what I was expecting, but I was still sad there wasn't anything I could dig up. My shadow is the only one who walks beside me. But anyway, with A through H put away, it was time to get started on the other large CD shelf. Mainly J, K, and L. So after this quick transition, I was looking quite good. I also managed to reunite this loose CD with its case, but I can't for the life of me remember what album this is, so I'm just putting it right here. I also think now is a good time to explore just how I was putting the CDs away. I'm not super knowledgeable on the order of release for albums, so I honestly started putting them away based on how the side looked. So with KMFDM, for example, you can see how I organized them by the typeface and placement on the side of the album, so even if it's wrong, at least it looks nice. But anyway, it was time to sort the M section. This was by far the most CDs in a letter that I had come across thus far, so I was very intimidated. But I finally felt like another time lapse, so I actually got one this time. So have fun, because this is the only other one you're gonna get. Also, because this section was split between 2 sides, instead of walking back and forth, I just alphabetized on the ground once I ran out of room. There was also a huge amount of missorts in this section. I have no idea how it got so messy, but all of these needed to move somewhere else in the collection. I also think these green jewel cases are so cool. My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult was a band that I had never heard of before, but we have 14 of their albums. They definitely stood out to me with their green cases. Also, have fun with the second table CD diminishing montage. I don't think it works better the second time, but maybe if I keep trying, it'll eventually be good. So eventually, I was done with both large shelves. This took so long and was so tedious, but it was so worth it because it just looks so much nicer and you can actually find stuff now. I also thought the Q section was interesting because like 70% of it was just Queens of the Stone Age. This CD also had a circular case, which looks cool, but it would cause it to roll back whenever I would move stuff next to it. That was a little annoying, and I'm not really sure how they expected someone to even put the CD away in any kind of shelf, but hey, sometimes beauty is pain. And now it was time to move the table to get to the shelf on the other wall. So I did, and then proceeded to do this for some reason. Yeah, nice, Rose, that's very, very funny. I then took all the CDs off this rotating tower because they actually weren't gonna go there anymore, so onto the table they went. And I'm gonna be honest, I got used to the table having less CDs on it, so to fill it back up with even more stacks of CDs was again super intimidating. But I pressed on. Since the last time I was doing this, we got another few shelves to try and fit everything. This would prove to be a very smart move. However, the one that I started putting the S section away on had pre-made slats for the CDs to go, and this has multiple problems, mainly because moving them over took a very long time, but also if the CD was a different width than a normal jewel case, then it wouldn't fit. So I decided to put everything on the shelf below it that did not have slats. The entire S section fit on the shelf. That's right, no other letters. According to my math, that is approximately 294 CDs. Also, if you're worried about that water on the ground, so was I. The basement floods sometimes after large rains, so I put the shelf on block so it wouldn't get super waterlogged. I then took it upon myself to move every other CD to the table now that S was put away. And honestly, it didn't look like that much. In fact, it looked totally manageable. So all that was left to do was to put everything away on the rotating CD tower. So after a quick transition, I did that. I also just wanted to take a second to appreciate the album design for this Tool album. It has stereoscopic lenses built into the case, another thing that yet again you could only really do with a CD. It also serves another purpose of comedy. I also reunited some more CDs with their jewel cases because I'm a savior. Now that the entire alphabet was put away, I was able to go in and find the cases that they belonged to. I wonder how many empty cases I put away that I just didn't know were empty because I didn't open every CD. Now, you may think that the entire alphabet being put away would mean my job was over, right? Wrong. There's still so much work to do. Look how much time is left on the video. We're not over yet. I decided to start with putting the various artist CDs away on the other CD tower. They all just fit on there, so that was very exciting. I also blatantly ignored the CD's wishes to be filed under Leonard Skinner, mainly because I was lazy, but also because it's a various artist CD, and it deserves to go with the rest of them. It was at this point that I realized I had forgotten to move another section of CDs starting with T over to the table, so that was great and exciting and awesome, and I was so happy. So I sucked it up and put everything away where it was supposed to go, and honestly, everything fit way better after that, so I wasn't too upset in the end about that extra work that I had to do. I then put away all the blues, jazz, swing, and old country music, and then it was time to tackle the soundtracks on the incinerator. This incinerator has had stacks of CDs on it for years, so I was very excited to finally get it cleaned off. All the soundtracks fit on one side, just like everything else. And then I had a realization. Will I be able to fit the entire collection onto the shelves we had? This was something that I had hoped for in the beginning, but I didn't know how many CDs had to actually be put away. I didn't do the math to see if everything would fit, so this whole time I had been working towards a goal I only half believed was possible. But now, seeing the 2 boxes of CDs left to be put away, and seeing all the empty shelves that I could put them away on, I got excited. Could I really do this? I then split all the classical CDs into famous composers and modern composers and then put them alphabetically on the shelf in those categories. We also had a bunch of yoga CDs that I felt should be separate from the world CDs, so I put them on a rotating tower with pre-made slats. This wasn't as much of a problem because most of the yoga CDs were just in normal jewel cases. Then my mom remembered she had a stash of children's CDs she used to play for us in the car all the time, and I was just hit with the biggest wave of nostalgia ever. A lot of them didn't have jewel cases, so I'll just have to order some more later. I put away the ones that did, and they all fit so well on the tower. I also managed to reunite a CD with its empty case, but I was also left with a bunch that we just didn't have the cases for, so I guess I'm just gonna have to make a shopping trip to Amazon.com. Not sponsored. After this, I had one box left. One final box between me and the end. It was almost sad that the journey was coming to an end, but I was excited to finish. After a transition, I split up the world CDs into where they came from geographically. And I tried my best at this, but I'm honestly a little bit ignorant when it comes to exact geography, so if you see something that's wrong, go easy on me. I genuinely tried. I also found some non-world CDs in that box, but what made me laugh was the Frank Sinatra CD. How did he even get in there? So I put them all on the shelf and used the labels that were there previously to mark the divides in geography. They mostly fit on the shelf, and honestly, it was good enough for me. Now, it was time to fix the second problem that I had. The space needed to turn from a house into a home through decorations. Now, I spent many hours down there during the summer, so I kind of learned to like its dinginess. I had started to call it the dungeon, so how about printing out and hanging up a logo that I made that says that very thing? I also printed out an inspirational cat poster that I stole from Google Images because I want the people who aren't used to the dungeons vibes to at least feel a little at home. And I decided not to put a lampshade on the light bulb. I realized that mangled is the vibe. And now for the final shots of the collection. We've used this collection multiple times since I put it away, and it is everything that I ever dreamed of. Finding stuff is so easy, and putting stuff back is just as simple. It's fun to see my parents rediscover their music collection and find things they haven't heard in a while. The whole time, there was this little voice in the back of my mind asking if all this was worth it, if there was even a point to putting away an outdated form of music. But seeing the collection in action has proven that it was worth it. And by Jove, I love CDs as a music listening medium. I've never stopped listening to them, even as they slowly and then quickly declined in popularity. I still love them, and I probably always will.
And there you have it. It's all put away and finished. I cannot believe that I did that. That was quite a lot. It was a lot. But it was super worth it, and it was super duper fun, and I'm so glad that I did it. And it's just such a weight off my shoulders knowing that everything is where it goes and where it belongs and where it needs to be. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. It really means a lot to me. This project was so great and fun, and it really just makes it even better that you watch this video. I guess I'll see you in the next one where I do something else crazy and time consuming. Or maybe not. Maybe I'll do something easy next video. Who knows? So I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
And before I leave you, here's one final shot of the collection. Oh, and if you're wondering how many CDs there are, I did the math, and according to my calculations, there are approximately 4,429 CDs in this collection. I'm so proud of myself for finally doing this and finishing it once and for all. And with that, I hope everyone watching has a fantastic day. Goodbye.